إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن خير الكلام كلام الله جل في العلا، وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. As we continue in our preparation for Ramadan al-Mubarak, فنسأل الله جل وعلا أن يبلغنا وإياه. We ask Allah ta'ala to allow us to reach the month of Ramadan ويوفقنا وإياكم إلى القيام بالأعمال الصالحة فيه، وإلى أن نخرج منها مغفور لذنوب أمنا الذين يكون قد غفرت لهم ذنوبهم جميعا. فيا معاشر الإخوة, as we continue Bulugh al-Maram by the great Imam Ahmed bin Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, who died 852 after the Hijrah, Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. As we will continue, we mentioned the prerequisites for the validity of one's siyam. As we talked about those conditions, number one is one had to be Muslim. That's number one. As we know, لا يصح من الكافر الصيام. For the person who's a non-Muslim, then the siyam is not valid. That's the first condition for one's siyam to be valid, as far as in regards to the individual himself. So number one, he has to be Muslim. Number two, he has to be what? He has to be in the state of sanity, where he has what they call al-aql. Where he has what? Where he has sanity, where he's in his right state of mind. And as far as what will joins to that same hukum, or that same meaning, from the other type of sicknesses, such as kharaf, where a person has kharaf, or he becomes what they call ma'tu, or what they call hadarat, where a person has Alzheimer's, or becomes almost like, he say, a vegetable, to the end of it, that which we'll talk about, or we actually already spoke about it, saying that that person, the depend is raised off of that individual, where the person who has reached this level, meaning in his state of mind, that siyam is not obligatory upon him. We also gave another third, which is what everyone, he has to be Muslim, baligh, aqil. He has to be baligh. He has to be at the age where the duties of Islam have become obliged upon him, or obligatory upon him. Where now we know that the pen or the angels are writing down the action of the slave, the action of the slave of Allah. For one, we said from those signs that puberty has manifested is by what? Whatever you want. Number one is by what? What do we say? Quickly. Either the age of 15, doesn't have to be a specific order. What dream? Pubic hair around the private part. Or, we said the age of 15. And the last one, in regards to the female, her mens. Now, we just said all four of those conditions. Keep in mind, everyone, that's an important point, because some people wait for all of these conditions to manifest. That's not a prerequisite. Just one. If one manifests from those conditions, a person has reached the age where the duties are binding upon him or her, and she will be what? She will be held accountable, meaning in the hereafter. When they die, they will be held accountable for the duty. The chapter of Siyam. Everybody's book is different, so I don't know the exact number. Everybody's copies are different. What was I saying? I'm sorry. My mind. Hey. Now, one sign that would suffice for the rest of those what? For the signs of puberty. It's not all of them have to be present. Rather, if one manifests, then that's enough. So we also said they had to be what? Muslim baligh. Baligh, meaning they reach the age of puberty, or they reach the age where the duties are now binding upon them. A person would say, who binds those duties? We say Allah Himself. Where a person, if they don't perform their duties, then they will be held accountable in the hereafter. They'll be held accountable, as we know, ya ma'ashar al-ikhwa, in the hereafter. The fourth is what, everyone? Have to be qadir. He has to be able. Have the physical ability or physical capability. We just also gave details in that regard. Say for the one who doesn't have what they call ajiz, or they do not have the ability, where they are incapable due to a sickness. Whereas they either will have those two types of categories where we talked about. مِمَّا يُرْجَى بُرْءُهُ وَمِمَّن لَا يُرْجَى بُرْءُهُ. For person number one, as we said, the person that is sick, then we know that individual does not have to fast. If it's the type of sickness that if he's fasting, he faces some difficulty upon his body and it's harming him. If that's the case, then one can break his fast. We also talked about the categories, and we'll go over it again briefly, do not worry. So the fourth condition is what, everyone? He has to be qadir. He has to be what? He has to be able. The fifth condition is what? He has to be a resident. He has to be a resident. Meaning he's not traveling. As we'll talk about, inshallah, there's details that's going to come, don't worry, about the one who travels, then it's not binding upon him to what? To fast. And in the details that we'll talk about, inshallah. The last one is what they call khalin min al-mawani'. Khalin min al-mawani'. That has to be free or void of those mawani'. What is the mawani'? It's the plural of mani', where a mawani' is like a temporary barrier. That if it comes from something outside that takes over someone's body temporarily, and it stops them from fasting. Meaning if they was to do it, it still would be invalid. Such as a woman's mens. A woman's mens, we know the duty is obligatory upon a woman to fast. The duty is still binding upon her. But however, what held her back was that matter that happened to take over her temporarily, which is her mens. For if she has her mens, then what, everyone? It's not obligatory for her to fast. If a woman is mensing, she does not happen to fast. Rather, it's obligatory upon her to break her fast. It's obligatory upon her to break her fast. Because her fast here in this instant will not be what? Will not be valid. Will not be acceptable by Allah Ta'ala. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Right. So that's the 6 conditions of fasting in regards to the person that they need to have in order for it to become valid. Right. Those are the details we talked about briefly last class. Now we're going to give different examples. We already talked about the person who has to be number one, Muslim, in order for Siyam to be valid. For Allah Ta'ala will not accept the actions of those who have not embraced the last and final message to humanity. Similar to a person like a lot of the non-Muslims, you'll find they'll say, well, why can't I just worship God the way I want to? Or worship God in the manner that I want to, the way I feel. What's the problem? Why can't I do that? God loves different people and loves different ways. And we'll say to them, even in a person in this world that we live in, nobody accepts in something who they're in charge of and what they run and what they own and what is in their jurisdiction, that someone come in a way, whereas if you work under in their environment and in the place that they own, in the place where they're conducted, where they're the person who's ultimately in charge, that he said, this is the guidelines that I set work for you to do. You do it this way, and you cannot do it any other way. If you do it in a manner that you feel, it is unacceptable. So we know right now, if a person was to say, well, I did the work, but he found out it was done in a manner that he didn't want it to be. It was done in a manner that was totally unacceptable, in which that person who was in charge had told him, I want it done this way, in this manner. If you don't do it, if you do it in contrast to how I said to do it, it is unacceptable. Right now, as you go anywhere, McDonald's or across the street, they have a certain protocol, a certain procedure, how anything is done. Even people's households. Nobody accepts certain ways, and even when their father tells their son, I want it done this way. Why? Because I'm the one that runs this house. Is that, am I right or wrong? Similar to a job. I'm the boss and I'm in charge. I made this company. I want it done this way. It has to be done this way or it's unacceptable. Well, why can't you just accept it the way I want to do it? Because I'm the one that owns it. I'm the one that's in charge. This is how I want to run it. This is the way I want it done. It's that simple. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, same thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has laid down that He has sent down previous messages, and all those previous revelations are abrogated. He has clearly said that in His book, in His final revelation to all humanity, in the Quran, where no one can change. So you know that as Allah's word, or if you want to say, if the non-Muslims say God's word, 100% authentic. Because nobody in the dunya can what? Change the Quran. There's numerous attempts have been tried, they all failed, and he still keep failing. As for the Torah and the Injil, then everybody, even the non-Muslims themselves, know it's been changed and altered. So it's a no-brainer to say, if I'm going to read a book that's been tampered with and a book that has not, and it can't be tampered with, which book will I choose? It's a no-brainer. Allah has made the acceptance for truth easy. And He tells the people to use your own mind. You don't even accept something right now. This is with your own self right now. Somebody say, I wrote a book and it was ascribed to me, and I said that this is my word. Somebody else wrote another book and mixed it in with their own words and ascribed it to me. Which book would I want you to read? The book that is what? Authentically being reported upon what I said. And not what? And not one word or one letter has been misplaced. And it's still proved to this day that that has not been what? Tampered with. No one can even tamper with it or alter it. So that book, that is a no-brainer that everybody knows, that you will read a book that's authentically reported from Allah, meaning from God and what they say, from Allah. That is the book that you want to read because it's authentic information from the one who created everything. And in that same book, He has clearly said He's not accepting anything else except what He's revealed, because He's the owner of everything that exists. This is His jurisdiction. It is under His power. It is under what He runs, Him Himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He said that this is what the only thing He's going to accept of what He has said in His book in so many ayat. Not just one. Verily, first, in the dina inda Allah al-Islam. That's number one. Number two, وَمَا يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَن يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Verily, the religion with Allah is Islam. That was all the religions from before. Whoever seeks a religion or a religion to draw close to Allah by, other than Islam, on the day of resurrection, it will not be what? Acceptable. And in the hereafter, it will not be accepted. And in the hereafter, it will be from the losers. It's a lot of different ayat. But from them, Allah Ta'ala said, لَقَدْ كَفَرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْمَسِيحُ ابْنُ مَرْيَمَ. Indeed, disbelieve who said that Allah Jesus is the Son of Allah. They've disbelieved. That's authentic. That's our authentic ayat from Allah Himself. You've disbelieved who said that Allah is the third of three. You've disbelieved. All these are authentic information that the Muslim holds on to. Which, as if a person was to fast and he's in another state other than the religion of Islam, we just said, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, it is not acceptable. Will they be held accountable in the hereafter for the duties they neglected, meaning the non-Muslims? Meaning they didn't pray or they didn't fast? Of course they will. Absolutely. Due to the ayahs, Allah Ta'ala says in the book of Surah Al-Muddathir, مَا سَلَكَكُمْ فِي سَقَرْ قَالُوا لَمْ نَكُمْ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ وَلَمْ نَكُنْ نُطْعِمُ الْمِسْكِينَ وَكُنَّا نَخُوضُ مَعَ الْخَائِضِينَ وَكُنَّا نُكَذِّبُ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ حَتَّى أَتَانَا الْيَقِينُ فما تنفعهم شفاعة الشافع ما لهم عن التذكرة المعرضين كأنهم حمر مستنفرة فرت من As Allah Ta'ala says in this book, in Surah Al-Muddathir, He says, when the people will come on the day of resurrection, and the people will be seeing people going into hell, عَفَانَ اللَّهُ إِيَّاكُمْ مِنَ الدُّخُولِ فِي النَّارِ Ameen. When the people will see people entering the hellfire, the people of Jannah will say to the people of hellfire, what has made you now fall into this predicament you're in, which is the worst of predicaments? There's there's nothing more evil or horrific than going to hell. He says that the first thing they will say, he says, قَالُوا لَمْ نَكُ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ We weren't from those who used to pray. Nor we were from those who used to feed the poor. And we was from those who made mockery of the signs of Allah. Is this to me in the ayah? وَكُنَّا نَخُوضُ مَعَ الْخَائِضِينَ We are from those who used to make mockery of the signs of Allah. Oh, these days at times, what's wrong? Come here, you're gonna kind of now we're growing your beard for you. Still living in those dinosaur times. You listen to music. Why don't you listen to a little bit of jazz and come up with your times a little bit? You still living prehistoric. Come on now, get up with the days and times and living in. Come on, modernize yourself a bit. Come on, man. You still dressing like how the people did in prehistoric bone ages. What's up with you? To all the other nonsense that people say these days to make mockery of what? The signs of Allah Ta'ala. طيب. This is the point of reference to show that why the non-Muslims will be held accountable for their rejection of the truth. We used to belie the day of resurrection. We used to belie and reject the day of resurrection until surety came to us. حتى تليقين. طيب. So that's to show that, number one, just to sum up everything, that a person who's fast and he's not Muslim, it is unacceptable. That's the first. But they also will be held accountable in the hereafter for them neglecting these duties that they are even themselves are supposed to perform. طيب. We also talked about sanity, right, everyone? We talked about sanity and how that's a condition, which we're going to give examples of that again, a little bit more. We gave a little bit of examples from last class, but we'll give some extra clarity in a minute. طيب. The other one we gave was what? Worse than being teenager. Reaching the age of puberty, Reaching the age of puberty. We already gave examples of that. طيب. Sickness, which is pertaining to now this condition, which is what? Being able. Right, everyone? They call qadir, being able. طيب. Having the physical, what, everyone? Physical ability. Does he need wealth? طيب. Just needs his body. The physical ability to what? To fast. طيب. We talked about that which, now this is what we're focusing on now. We're focusing on ability. So everybody's mind focus on qudra, ability. That's what you focus on now. Okay, Dawood? We're focusing on what? Ability. Jade. Ability, having a physical capability, we said, as far as what contradicts ability, which is what? Ajiz. Incapability. Incapability is of what, everyone? Two types, we said last class. Two. First one is, from the one, it is hope that he will recover from the sickness. I mean, it's only temporary. That's number one. Shaykh Uthaymeen in Sharh al-Mumti' breaks that down to what? Two types of sicknesses. That's temporary. Exactly. A little minor sickness, such as a light headache, light cold, light sickness, if it takes over the body temporarily. However, what? It does not, or a person fasting, it will not be something detrimental to his health, where it will render him to pass out, or render him to be in a very, if you want to say, in a very bad circumstances where it will really affect his body. If it's something that light, then what? Then what do we say, everyone? Huh? What do we say? Still fast. G. Another type of sickness, matter of fact, let me start over again. Start again from capability. The opposite of it is what? Incapability. Incapability breaks down two lines. Bang. Two lines. Two lines. The first one is what? One whose sickness is temporary. That is of two types. A light sickness and a heavy sickness, such as a heavy cold or a heavy, person might have like a heavy flu, cold, what have you. Find a very great difficulty while he's fasting. What do we say here? If he wants, the sunnah is to break it. And he would just make it up after the day of Ramadan. Everything I'm saying is going to repeat itself again, don't worry, because I'm always repetitious. طيب. So he breaks that fast for that particular day, and he makes it up after the month of Ramadan. Does he pay a fidya? Does he pay some type of compensation? No. As long as you have the ability, and the sickness you have is temporary, then you have to make it up after the month of Ramadan. Why? Because you hear people constantly every year, oh, I had a cold, so I just fed. Huh? Yes, you hear some people say that. I had a cold, so I just fed some poor person. No. You cannot feed. Why? As long as the ability is there. The ability is there, but you was only sick due to the fact it was only a what? Temporary sickness. That more than likely was going to be what? It was going to be cured. You would be cured from it. That's the case, then what, everyone? Still fast. After the month of Ramadan is over. Mix it up. Due to the fact that he broke his fast from a justifiable excuse in Kitab and Sunnah. All right, everyone? So a person cannot come now and say, I had a heavy virus, I was throwing up all over the place, my stomach, and I fed someone. No. If you had a stomach virus, you were throwing up, of course. If you want, you break your fast for that particular day. Then you would just have to make it up after the month of Ramadan. Right, let's get now to the second. Let's go over to the sickness of what? The sickness of what it is more than likely a person will never be cured from ever. Oh, chronic. Well, chronic is it goes away and comes back, right? That's a cue? I thought chronic sick. Okay, Jayid. That's the opposite. What they call chronic sickness? Chronic sickness. More than likely it comes to your mind, as they say, وَمِمَّا يَغْلَبَ عَلَى ظَنِّكَ أَنَّكَ لَن تُشْفَى مِنْهُ فَهُوَ مَلَازِمٌ لَكَ دَائِمًا إِلَىٰ أَن تَمُوتَ. For it's a sickness in which you think in your mind that what? It sticks to you, always. You will always have it, and more than likely it comes to your mind, you will never be what? Cured from it. Example. Now we bring the examples. So we went from one side, now we go to that side. Such as, for example, cancer. Jayid. May Allah protect us and you from that. Cancer. Another example. Diabetes. Another example. Person that has to perform dialysis. What they call ghasil kila. Where he has to clean out his bloodstream or his kidneys or due to the failure of his kidneys. Or clean out his blood. A person that does those or has those type of illnesses, what do we say? He has to fast? Does he have to fast? Does he or she have to fast? What do you say, Dawood? He says no. What do you say, Ibi? A person that has cancer, a person that has to do dialysis where they clean out their bloodstream from blood or what have you, what do they have to do? Do they have to fast or do they just feed a poor person or impoverished indigent? He understands those words. I told you. His brain. طيب. Ahsant. That person will what, Dawood? Feed. You understand, everyone? Is it close? Is it clear what I'm saying so far? طيب. So do not walk up to a person who has type 2 diabetes. A'udhu billah, you look fine. You're supposed to fast. No, you do not say that to him. Hair siyam is, in his case, is haram for him. A lot of people think that, oh, no, I'm a fat. No. In this place, in this particular instance, now the hukm al-siyam can switch. If it's something that will kill you, if you do it, the hukm can switch, absolutely. The hukm can switch as it pertains to him. Now, so if Allah Ta'ala has tested you with that sickness, do not feel bad. It's something that Allah Ta'ala has what? Has given you as a test for you, and maybe it might be a mercy for you. Is it clear what I'm saying? So accept what Allah has preordained and just swallow it with, not with pride, but just accept what He subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined and preordained for your state. طيب. So that is it pertains to what? Qadir. That goes in pertaining to what, everyone? Which category? Being able, ability. So what opposes that is what? Incapability. So you have those two categories. The first one is what, everyone? What more than likely he'll be cured from? And the second one is what? Was a chronic illness in which he thinks more than likely he will never be what? Cured from it. Or if a person has autoimmune sickness, or any type of deficiency, if they have what they call, which is a type of autoimmune sickness, what they call, lupus. I sent. Because I think that's a type of autoimmune sickness, is lupus. Those type of sicknesses, a person will what? Will feed. You understand? Those sicknesses are chronic sicknesses. Do not fast if this is your state. You understand, everyone? Feed the poor people. How? We'll talk about that in a minute, inshallah. How do you feed? Talk about that in a minute. What was your question, Sheikh? I'm sorry. Meaning the person can't feed? He can't feed at all. Then the obligation falls off him. We'll talk about that in a minute, inshallah. Saqat al-wujub. We'll talk about that. That'll come. What happened to the man who fell into being intimate with his wife during Ramadan, and the Prophet ﷺ, he said, do you have a slave to feed? He said no. Free a slave? He said no. He said, can you fast 2 consecutive months? He said no. He said, can you feed 60? He said no. So the man he sat down. So Messenger of Allah ﷺ gave some dates for him, and he gave it to him. He says, Awa ala afqara minna ya Rasulullah. He says, is there anybody more poor than us? He said, for what? He said, nobody between two of the lavas, meaning the two mountains of Medina, except we are the poorest people in it. So the Messenger of Allah said, just take it and feed your family with it. So the obligation what? Fell off him. We'll talk about that in a minute. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So far? طيب, don't worry. All that's going to come in a minute. طيب. What's the next? We said Qadir, and we said the last one is what? The next one is resident. He can't be traveling. We'll talk about the details in regards to traveling. But we did specify and made clear, last class, what did we say? We know it's permissible to break your fast if you travel, but with the condition that you did not premeditate to travel in order to escape fasting before Ramadan started. So you premeditating, Ramadan might start tomorrow. Let's travel, babe, because I don't feel like fasting this month of Ramadan. Those people, you'll find that the ulama in the books, in the fuqaha, all the ulama unanimously condemn those type of people and say this is haram for what? To premeditate an affair in order to escape from the worship of Allah. So people play these type of games. It's called tatabbu' al-rukhas, and it's called ashab al-hiyal. It's trying to find those things that are legitimized for you to take the so-called rukhsa. You're trying to look for it, to take the way out of it, to escape your duty. Or to play tricks with the religion of Allah in order to escape certain duties. What you say? Loopholes. Trying to find loopholes. And I've heard that, and I've heard people in Philadelphia do this. Yes, I heard people, yes, they do this. They will plan to go to Hawaii for the first 10, 20 days of Ramadan, or 15 in the first week. First Ramadan, come on, babe, we're going to travel. I got to fast because I'm traveling. In order to escape the duties, you'll find the people have heard the stories. Oh yeah, that's Philadelphia for you. That's Philly, as we say, that's Philadelphia for you. But with regards to these type of people, you'll find that the ulama have condemned the people that do this. They're purposely planning to what? Escape performing a duty that Allah has bonded upon them. In this case, this is condemned. And it's not permissible to do this. We're just talking about travel that in the middle of Ramadan, something happened, okay, let's go to Umrah, or let's go visit our loved ones, or let's go to, there's a Dawrah somewhere, let's go travel to participate, be with the brothers in Dawrah, whatever. But you didn't premeditate it to escape the worship. That wasn't your intention. We're talking about a person that purposely plans not to what? Fast. And tries to find a loophole to do it and legitimize it by something that Allah legislated. You understand, everyone? It's dangerous when you plan your religion in that manner. Very dangerous. طيب. We'll talk about that in a minute. That's the condition. Plus we want to give examples. طيب. As for the khala min al-mawani', or the last condition, I'll talk with the sisters with that. That's in the class what I usually do with the women. But if the brothers want me to go over and give some details on that, we can do that. I have no problem with that. But I usually discuss those details with our sisters on Sunday about what's pertaining to their ments, because we know that the ments of the woman will render her what? Not to fast. The ments of the woman is obligatory. It's obligatory that she doesn't fast while she's on her ments. And if she does it, it's not what? It's not acceptable. She will have to make that day up. If a woman fasts while she's on her ments, then what? It's not acceptable. Because it's a mani'. طيب. I talked about the sisters with the different types of blood that emanates from a woman. You have a blood that's a mens. Then you have a blood that's not a mens. Then you have a blood that's postnatal bleeding, as I discussed with our sisters. Some women think it's just all one hukum. No, it isn't. There's some blood that emanates from a woman that is not a mens. It's not a mens at all. You understand, everyone? And a woman still will have to what? Fast, and she still will have to what? Pray in that instant. As far as intimacy, yes, upon what's the strongest opinion, of course. There's something different. Some people, women said that's repulsive. Who would do that? As I've discussed with even my relatives in my family, they said there's a certain way that if a woman has this, she can stop it temporarily. Stop it temporarily. Meaning a woman, she has this type of what they call istihada. It's not immense, it's another type of blood. Like it can stop it temporarily, momentarily. But it's not a what? It's not a mens at all. Women know the trick of how to do it. They know exactly what I'm talking about. Women know, usually from those tricks they do, they would sit in the water. Usually water would cut the blood off temporarily. That's one of the things that they do. The women know exactly what I'm talking about. But at any rate, that's for the sisters. That's for the sisters. But at any rate, it's good to know this because men have to know this ahkam too. Because if a woman is on her istihada, he could divorce her. That's the reason why it's important to know these ahkam. Of course, because it's not a mens. It's not a mens. The mens is when it's what? And haram to what? Divorce a woman while she's on the mens. But she's on istihada, he could divorce her. Absolutely. Because it's not a mens. You understand? That's the reason why it's important to know these ahkam. It's very important. At any rate, since you guys don't seem like y'all have the desire to talk about that, like, man, I don't want to talk about no blood, and man, I don't want to talk about that at all. That's just hearing it is repulsive. So leave that for the sisters. No problem. But still, it's good for our brothers to be educated in these ahkam. Very important. طيب. Question. Let's go back now to giving examples about a person that's not able. Let's go back to that. Due to the fact that a person now, if he's sick, person gets a cold, person gets a virus, stomach virus, cold, whatever. We know that person just has to what? He breaks his fast and he'll what? He'll feed up the shaheed. Jayid. Curveball, see if you're paying attention. طيب. The other person, he's a person that what? Has a chronic illness. Ahsant. طيب. Question is, how does he feed? Is the question. That's the question. Number one, from what? Like I said, I'm going to do some more research. Firstly, number one, of course, a person can either call the people who are poor from the Muslims, not the non-Muslims, from the Muslims. That's important. Because I never heard the Muslims. From the Muslims. Some brothers that I've heard in Philadelphia try to make things difficult. They try to say, oh, people get food stamps and all these other things. They're not poor. They're not indigent. They are indigent. They wouldn't be feeding food stamps if they're not indigent. They wouldn't be feeding food stamps in public help or public assistance if they weren't from the indigent, if they didn't fall into that category. So, being that the case, make things easy on yourself. Find those from the Muslims who are in need, which is a lot of our people, and just make your things easy on yourself. Some people try to make things too difficult. Then in that case, like we said, fear Allah to the best of your ability. Find those who you think more than likely they need their help and give them and feed them what they are supposed to be fed. Number one is this. So first thing, even Shaykh Uthaymeen mentions this. He says the first type of way you feed is this. And يصنع طعاما غداء أو عشاء. Pay attention, Ibi. ثم يدعو إليه المساكين بقدر الأيام التي عليه. كما كان أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه يفعل ذلك حين كبر. That's number one, as it comes in Bukhari. طيب, in regards to the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, أيام معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخرى. We'll talk about that in a minute, don't worry. The first type of way that person feeds is this way, that he makes food, cooks it. يصنع طعاما, either lunch or he can make them عشاء, dinner. Then he calls the people who are masakeen, the people who are from the indigent. Who is the indigent, Ibi? People who are poor. Okay? Those who are poor, not faqir. Notice he said masakeen. Masakeen. Is there a difference between faqir and miskeen? Based upon what Ibn al-Qayyim? Yes. Same thing that Abdul Mateen gave examples of. Maskana and faqr, if they come together, similar to Iman and Islam. Same thing. If Allah mentioned miskeen, the faqir goes right into it. If Allah mentioned the word miskeen by itself in a particular text, then the person who is faqir enters inside of it. Well, first of all, what's the definition? The first definition of miskeen is the person that what? He doesn't have everything that will what? Suffice for his necessities, but he does have something. He does have a house, he has a place to live, but he has something. But he still does not have enough, of course, what will suffice him for all his needs. But he has something. That's a miskeen. Faqir, he has absolutely nothing. Nothing. He doesn't even have a roof to live on his head. That's a faqir. That's a person that is what? Jay, from the destitute. That's a person that's faqir, from the destitute. He has nothing. Faqir, he has, basically just to sum it up, faqir has nothing. Miskeen has something. That's the best way I can explain it. Miskeen has something. Faqir has nothing. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions miskeen without faqir, then faqir goes inside of it. Exactly. Now, if they are both mentioned in the same context, where miskeen is mentioned, faqir is mentioned, then they separate and take their own meanings. Similar to what? As we taught, similar to Islam and what? Iman. Same thing. Same thing. So if Allah mentioned, or the Prophet ﷺ, even in this context, mentioned miskeen, what goes into it for all the more reason is who? The one who doesn't have nothing at all for the Muslims. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Type. So the first way you feed is, what we said, is what? That a person makes food, cooks it. He can cook it. Either for what? Lunch or asha, dinner. وَيَجْعَلْ مَعَهُ مَا يُؤْدِمُهُ مِنَ اللَّحْمِ. We will all talk about that too. And he also makes with it, along with what? Accompany of it, some type of cooked blood, which is meat. That he also makes with it. He calls the people who are miskeen, just as Anas ibn Malik did when he became elderly. From what I know, and like I said, I'm going to do some more research, that a person is not supposed to precede the days in which it was not binding upon him yet to feed yet. Meaning, what do I mean by that? First day of Ramadan, a person would say, well, can I just get it all out the way in 30 days as soon as it starts? That's the question. From what I know, you're not supposed to precede the days. Even though somebody sent me something that I after what? I said, you sure with this information? There was another statement of Ahl Ilm saying, no, you don't. But like I said, I'm going to do the research. But for now, do not precede the days in which it did not come upon you to yet feed the individual yet. Like I said, I'm going to do more research in the matter. I'm going to do more research. Because somebody sent something to me to put a curveball to me, because that's all I've known for years. Not supposed to precede the days. Meaning, first day of Ramadan come, or if you wanted to wait 10, then you could gather people and feed 10 after 10 days already elapsed. Or if 20 days already elapsed, then you can feed 20. Or whatever. Whether it be in the first, the middle, that length, but it has to be in this way. That's what I thought for years. Then somebody said, no, you don't have to. The affair is a little bit more broader than that, and I'll do more research just to make sure. Just give me another chance to do a little bit more research, and then we'll what? And I'll give you that answer later. No, it's from the Muslims. That's it. We'll talk about that later in a minute. All that information is going to come. It has to be from the Muslims for Ramadan. It has to be from the Muslims, from the Muslimin. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? But just to be secure for now, like I said before I get the rest of the information, brothers do not hasten towards just feeding the 30 people the first day until, like I said, just give me a chance to do some more information on the matter, inshallah. Fine. So, we already finished what? Those pertaining to sick. Oh, the first type of way to feed. That's the first way. There's another way. There's another way to feed. There's another way to feed. What's the other way? Where a person can what? Where a person can use uncooked goods. What they call non-perishable? They call them non-perishable goods. Where a person can, that could be the second way. You have the alternative. Even though some Ahl Ilm do say this wajib, but upon khilaf min Ahl Ilm, but you can either do it this way or the other, you have the alternative. You have the choice. You could do it that way, or you could do it this way, the second one. Where a person gets non-perishable goods such as hub or hab, from bur, or barley, or wheat, or whatever from the food that is known with that particular what? People of that country or that land. And of course we know that they will feed them, it will be the amount of a mud, which is considered with the sa' of the Prophet ﷺ. We'll get to the measurements a little bit later, inshallah, because it's going to require some time and I want to get back to the book. But at any rate, they say non-perishable what? Goods. That's the second way that you could give to a person that is in need. So he could do it either that way or the other way. He has the alternative. So a person is not restricted or bounded to one type of way. He could do it either this way or the other way. If he's what, everyone? If he's from those who has a chronic illness. That's what we're talking about right now. Well, also will fall under that, as we'll talk about, inshallah, is an elderly person that does not have the ability to. We'll talk about the tafsir in Germantown, with the tafsir of the ayah, where some even Ibn Kathir mentions this in the tafsir. Don't talk about this, you don't got to write this down. Just a side benefit. Where Ibn Kathir mentioned and said that what about the elderly man who can fast and he has some strength? Does he still have to fast or he just feeds? He said, and even Ibn Kathir said this was the strongest opinion. I was surprised even Ibn Kathir gave the Rajah. He said, if he has the ability, he still has to fast. If he's an elderly man, Allah has given him some strength in his body and some endurance and some durability. Because there are people out there that have what? That type of body. It exists. He still has to what? He still has to fast. The only thing when he resorts to what feeding is when the ability is not there anymore. You understand, everyone? We'll talk about that. Don't worry. But right now we're talking about a person that's sick, that has a chronic illness. We'll stick to that for now. So I don't want to confuse anyone. Keep it right there. So a person has a chronic illness, this is how he will what, everyone? How he would feed. He would feed either what? Or he could give non-perishable goods. One of the two. So keep it simple. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? As far as the elderly woman or elderly man, or what's the ahkam for a woman that's pregnant or breastfeeding, we'll get into all of that. even to the point where Ibn Kathir mentioned the same thing in this regard, which we'll talk about later. Ibn Kathir even said that, he said there's a big khilaf in that. Ibn Kathir himself even said, we say khilaf Kathir bayna ahl ilm. Even when Ibn Kathir mentioned it, I was like, whoa, if that was the case, then the same thing that's going on with us, it was plaguing them the same thing back then 400 or 500 years ago. And the same mas'ala about what? Women that's either feeding or breastfeeding or either pregnant and they're afraid for their fetus, or a woman that's what? Breastfeeding. Because we know so many statements every year. Does she just suffice with just what? Feeding. That's one statement. Does she suffice with just making it up? Then you got another statement that she has what? That she has to feed and make it up. We'll talk about that all when it comes. Inshallah. Okay, everyone? But for right now, I know alhamdulillah, that particular masala, I know the aqwal. Sheikh Zay, I know what Sheikh Zay Madkhali says, Sheikh Salih Fawzan says, what Sheikh Uthaymeen says, and what Sheikh Al-Bani says, and what Sheikh Abdulaziz bin Baz says, and the Lajnat al-Da'ima. I know what all of them say. Alhamdulillah, bi fadl of Allah. I'll give the answer later. But for right now, we're talking about what, everyone? The one man who has a chronic illness. So focus on that. Let that information soak in your brain and suffice with that today. Is it clear, Ibrahim? So what were we talking about? When we talking about what, Ibrahim? Focus. We're talking about a person that has a chronic sickness. I use words with him because he can understand it. You understand? What's a chronic sickness? Told you he knows. But at any rate, so that's what we're speaking about right now. Okay, everyone? G. Now, let's move on and go back to the book. I want to give a little bit more examples, but we'll get back to it at the Maghrib. But we have to get back to Bulugh al-Maran. Bulugh al-Maran. طيب, everybody go back to Bulugh al-Maran. Or Umdat al-Ahkam, it doesn't matter. See, Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi and Hafiz al-Hajr seem like they're on the same, use the same narrations. My battery. طيب, turn to the page where it talks about, where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the hadith of Sahib al-Sa'id al-Sa'idi, that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said that my ummah will continue to be upon good, or never cease to be upon good, as long as they hasten what? Breaking the fast. That hadith. Found it? Dawood, you have your book? You have it? Or you have the PDF? Just read it from Abdul Shaheed. Because we got to finish the book. Salah's about to come in soon. You guys found it? You found it? Abdul Shaheed, you found it? That the people, how do they translate your book, Sheikh? You found it? Just take your time. طيب, read the hadith for me. Read the hadith for me. Sahl ibn Sa'd. All right, that's how they translate it. He'd be all right. All right. Khayri is like the best. It's like the excellence, the excellence and the prominence. It's not just the all right. Prosperity, that's a good better translation for it. Jay, okay, read the next narration for me. Come on. Tafadhal. No. Hadith Tirmidhi, Hadith Abu Hurairah.
That Allah says that the and my slave is the one who hastens in breaking of the fast.
Gee, read the next one.
It's narrated by Anas bin Malik, Allah's Messenger, take a meal just before dawn, for there is a blessing in the suhoor, and take the meal.
Gee, next one. See, 4 hadith in this one particular matter. Salman bin Amir al-Dabbi. No.
The Prophet fast, he should do so with some dates. But if he cannot get any, he should break his fast with water, for it is purifying.
جيد. All these narrations you find of the great Imam al-Hafidh ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, that he put inside of this chapter a hadith that were pertaining to the adab of how one is supposed to inaugurate and start his fast. You know that Allah Ta'ala in his book, he says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. Notice Allah Ta'ala mention the word what, everyone? Furqan. Notice in that ayah, Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in his book that He's the one that what? That Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed. Guidance to the people, Huda linnas wa bayyinatin min al-huda. Giving details of everything to be of guidance. And the last thing it says what? Wal furqan. And also sending down the criteria of what will distinguish between truth and falsehood. طيب, how is that, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa? And how is that pertaining to these ahadith that we're about to embark upon? Explain it. How is it? Notice that Allah Ta'ala still in the month of Ramadan talked about furqan, something that distinguishes between what? Haqq and what? Batil, which distinguishes between truth and distinguishes between falsehood. In these ahadith are a lot of adab. First one is how to start your fast off. How to start it off, which is taking that pre-dawn meal before Fajr. Salat before the time of Fajr comes in. So now these are from the adab. First from the mannerisms of fasting, and also likewise of actualizing the furqan. A person will say, why you keep focusing on that? As we'll talk about inshallah, it's going to come. Where the Prophet ﷺ also told us to take the pre-dawn meal every day we what? Fast. For a lot of reasons. A lot. A lot of people think these matters are not that important. They are very important. It's very important that to take the pre-dawn meal before you start the actual fast. طيب. Notice that the message of Allah ﷺ said that my people will never cease to be upon khair. And it's a translation to say, all right. Oh, they'll be all right. No. They'll be upon what is excellence, prominence. You understand? Prosperity. Those things. That's the meaning of khairiyah. That's the meaning of what, everyone? Khairiyah. That they'll have excellence, prominence. They'll be upon which is what? Excellent. If they apply this sunnah. فَلَا يَزَالُ النَّاسِ بِخَيْرٍ. As long as they hasten the what? The fitr. So now these ahadith that we take in, you have two opposites. Notice when a person is about to break the fast, he what? He does not put it off to what? After it's time. He hastens towards breaking it. In contrast to the pre-dawn meal, you'll find that it's putting off what? To the closest of time before actually what? Comes in. Now we're going to discuss that inshallah. That it's not from the sunnah to what? Eat. For example, Fajr comes in 4:30. We'll usually probably more than likely when we start fasting, it'll be around that time approximately, 4:20. 4:20 or 4:25. You'll find people that they want to take their pre-dawn meal 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night. Wrong. The sunnah is to put it to the closest to time where Fajr comes in as much as possible. Now, that is what is correct. And when it's time to break it, not to wait until the sun or the stars start to appear. And some people think that's from zuhd, from aestheticism, or so-called doing something extra in the ibadah, whereas they now want to wait for the stars to completely appear and the sun to completely set. We're now to the point where the stars start to appear, where they want to break their fast. Incorrect. Is it clear, everyone? The Prophet ﷺ said that my ummah will never cease to be upon Garel. Just time to pray for call you there now. I think it's time now. It's time for Maghrib now, isn't it? You just came in? What time you come in? Oh, we have 2 minutes? Or 1 minute? I'm just thinking I was just like talking, then they got to stop. طيب. When the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned this, as soon as I say, watch these things go on. When the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned this, said, hasten towards breaking of the fast. Hasten towards breaking of the fast usually comes in about by 3 affairs. Number 1, you see it yourself, of course. Alhamdulillah. They gonna start bothering me now, my allergies, huh? طيب. So, when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, hasten towards breaking the fast. Minutes now, right? Shaitan, I want to tell you, mess with you right before you're there. Come on. So fitr, your person will hasten towards the fitr. Number 1, either by what? Either by first, of course, seeing it for himself. It's number 1. Number 1. But seeing it for himself or knowing the time for himself comes to more than likely my mind that the sun is down. If a person now is in his mind that the sun is completely down and it's time to break fast, and let's just say it's cloudy. And let's just say, for example, he thought completely in his mind that it was what? The sun was down. Do not burden yourself. If let's say now your friend says, no, I just seen the sun peak just came up. It was just a little peak left. Do not worry. If you thought in your mind completely the sun was down and the time was in, you broke your fast, that's enough. Why say that? Because there's going to be a narration of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what we're going to talk about, what happened, what I think it was Asma, and we'll talk about, it was one of the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She said that we were fasting, it was cloudy, until we thought that the sun completely went down. We broke our fast, and then the sun came out. So he said that the Messenger of Allah did not command us to what? To make up that day. He didn't. Due to the ignorance of the what? Of the time, of the jahl of waqt, of the time. But they thought completely in their minds the sun was what? Went down. So if it completely went down, you thought the time was in, Allah Ta'ala of course has our mercy upon all of us and all of you, whereas upon does not have to what? Make up that fast. So number 1 is either by al-mushahada, by yourself. Number 2, or either by a person in which is reliable what? It's reliable that a person works by his statement. He works by his what? Statement. It's reliable. Person come to you and say, no, it's time. Time is fast comes in. Number 3, either by the adhan in which the person's adhan is on point. It's on point in which a person's adhan, by hearing the adhan. By his adhan is accurate, on point. بسماع الأذان الذي ينضبط أذانه يعني بالتوقيت المنضبط. By that adhan that is what? Is precise and accurate. The person works by that adhan, in which the mu'adhin, the actual person that's calling it, his adhan is accurate. So when a person now wants to break it fast, similar to what we're in right now, this time, alhamdulillah, we're talking about fitr right now, if it was Ramadan, this will be the time for what? Breaking our fast right now. Right, everyone? For that reason, we see that the sun's completely down and the dark has appeared. And for that reason, we stop here to let one of our brothers call the other. So who wants to call it? Here. And which one of you wants the reward of having long necks on the day of resurrection? Let them take advantage of it. Verily, those who call the adhan will have the longest necks on the day of resurrection, meaning it would be a fadl, it would be a virtue for them. Battery recharge. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. You doing push-ups? أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله. So, we're not finished yet. I think we're not finished. You guys know I could go all the way up to Isha. You should try this. Try what I drink. I have you amped. Sweet potatoes. No, I drink another drink. You should see my other drink an hour ago what I put in it. Oh. Hello, I'm sorry. It's the sleep position. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. ورب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمود والصير الفضيلة وبعث مقام محمود وتاه. طيب يا معاشر الإخوة. So we said that either person hastening towards breaking his fast, either it occurs by what? By what they call al-mushahada, by either seeing it yourself, or either by بخبر من يوثق به or بخبره. Number two is either by a person in which is reliable, he's reliable in what he informs. Or بسماع الأذان الذي يؤذن حيث يكون أذانه منضبط أو ينضبط أذانه يعني التوقيت المنضبط. Or either by the person by hearing the adhan, which is adhan is accurate and precise. For those type of people, or these type of ways, if one now attains, which he wants to know the time to break his fast, by one of these three ways, of course, then he breaks his fast. Right. These narrations and the likes of these, inshallah, we'll talk about. It says, if the message of Allah, because now I want to go back to the reason why I was talking about furqan. You think I thought, I ain't lose, I know exactly what I was talking about. Furqan. How is that? Due to the fact, you'll find that you'll find Ahl Ilm mentions as if the message of Allah was given a hint. Like there's going to be a deviant sect or something of a people that's going to appear where they're going to wait for the actual stars to appear from when they want to break their fast. So it's as if he's giving a warning of like, to not what? Be like this. From those sects which will manifest from his ummah, it's as if there's going to be a sect or schism or party that's going to manifest, that they're going to wait until what? The actual stars appear when it's time to break the fast. And also likewise, this ayat right here, what everyone? Actualizes the furqan, the criteria of distinguishing between truth and falsehood here to go against the people of what? Of falsehood. And likewise, the Furqan, or distinguishing between Haqq and Batil, also manifests itself in opposing what? The Jews. The Jews and the Christians. In which we'll talk about how and who, which one oppose these matters. Either by them leaving off the pre-dawn meal, or either from them leaving off the pre-dawn meal, which is sahur, or them waiting for the stars to appear. Which we'll talk about, inshallah. Matter of fact, I'll read it quickly right now. Listen to what the great Imam that he goes on to say, Sheikh Salih Fawzan bin Abdullah al-Fawzan حفظه الله. He says, وحدث بعد القرون المفضلة من الفرق الضالة من يؤخرون الإفطار من المبتدئة. وكان في هذا الحديث إشارة إلى حصول هذا، فهو علامة من علامات النبوة، حيث إنه أشار إلى أنه سيكون في هذه الأمة من يؤخر الفطر، فنبه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على تحاشي ذلك والابتعاد عنه وتفادي ذلك. وأيضا تأخير الفطر فيه تشبه باليهود. فيه رحمة الله بقي دقيقتان حتى نقيم الصلاة. طيب، وأيضا تأخير الفطر فيه تشبه باليهود، فإن اليهود لا يفطرون حتى يمضي جزء من الليل حتى تشتبك النجوم، وتشبه بهم أهل الضلال من المنتسبين إلى هذه الأمة، فصاروا لا يفطرون إلا إذا ظهر الظلام وظهرت النجوم. فهذا فيه مخالفة لسنة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، لأنه أخبر أن تعجيل الفطر يدل على خيرية هذه الأمة. He says in this hadith here specifically, he says there has manifested after the first 3 virtuous centuries from the devious sects who put off iftar from the people of Ahl Bid'ah, from the people of innovations and deviation. He says as if in this hadith there's a hint towards this is going to happen from the signs of prophethood. Whereas the Messenger of Allah ﷺ gave a hint that there's going to be people in this nation who will put off the iftar or the fitr, breaking of the fast, until what? Until when the stars start to actually what? Manifest and display themselves. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ basically gave and aroused awareness to stay far away from that. And stay far away from that affair. And to what? Hasten towards breaking the fast. Listen to what he also says. Maybe keep in mind this is all about Furqan now, right everyone? And also in this is resembling the Yahud. Resembling the Yahud. Resembling the Jews. He said, for verily it was from the Jews of those who used to break their fast. They didn't used to break their fast until a part of the night passed by. Until the stars start to appear and they start to what? Manifest. And also likewise in this is resemblance with the people of what? Misguidance from those who ascribe themselves to this ummah, from the Muslims. To the point where they think, where they started to now not break their fast except if darkness actually what? Is clear and evident and the manifesting is clear. And the stars are now manifesting is clear. In this is opposing the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he informed that hastening the fast or breaking the fast indicates the prominence of this ummah, the excellence of this ummah. And that putting it off is evil. And it goes against the sunnah and it's also resembling the Yahud. Jayyid. So that's part of the Furqan. You understand, everyone? So even in Ramadan, one in opposing the people of the inhabitants of hell also manifests itself in our ibadat. As Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah wrote in this tremendous treatise called, what's it called, everyone? اقتضاء الصراط المستقيم في مخالفة أصحاب الجحيم. It's called the obligation of sticking to the correct straight path by opposing the inhabitants of hell. By opposing the inhabitants of hell. He said from those ways you'll find that he mentions these types of narrations. Because we want to oppose those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has either led astray or those who his wrath is upon. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Huh? But we'll stop here. We'll pray Maghrib. We'll continue. If we want, and we continue after the salat, or we can stop here. كما تحبون وعلى راحتكم أنتم. As you guys want, we can continue after the salat, or we can stop here. It's up to you. I see like some people are interested, some people are interested. طيب, we'll stop here. We'll pray Maghrib. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.